Hello everyone and welcome back. With Battle for Azeroth coming very soon in 3 months, one of the key components of this expansion is going to be Azerite gear. So let's go over everything that Azerite gear is not, what downfalls it has, what positives it has, and what can be changed from now till launch that'll make this gear better. So Azerite gear is just armor that has been infused with extra abilities that are unlocked based on your Azerite level, kind of like the Netherlight Crucible. Now you can see your Azerite level at any moment by looking at your Heart of Azeroth neckpiece. It has your Azerite level indicated right here. Now the way that you level up this neck is by infusing it with more Azerite, which is gotten from world quests, dungeons, and islands. This is very similar to artifact power, but it's automatically collected and applied, so you don't have to use 20 different items after going to a raid. Also, an easy way to see if a piece of gear is Azerite gear or not is the fact that it has these little Azerite pieces on the frame of the gear. Now, Azerite gear is going to offer ways of empowering your gameplay by offering different choices. Azerite gear can only come in 3 different slots, that's helmet, shoulders, and chest, and every piece of gear has 3 tiers of choices. Now the first tier is going to have 1 choice per spec and 1 choice that's an all-around choice. Normally the all-around choice is going to buff a secondary stat of yours by allowing you to collect orbs or something to that extent. The tier 2 choice is mostly going to offer healing, absorption, leech, or avoidance, so it basically gives you a little bit of sustain and self-healing throughout the course of a fight. And the tier 3 is real simple, it's just an item level bump up, so it's going to increase all of your main stats. Now something that I've seen asked a lot is how is this gear going to scale? Once I'm done getting the 3rd trait, I'm never going to need to get any more Azerite power. What's the deal with this? Well, depending on the item level of the gear you have, so if it comes from questing, leveling, whatever it is, the Azerite trait will require a different level of your Heart of Azeroth to unlock. So as an example, I have a lot of pieces of Azerite gear here from leveling up and questing and dungeons and all sorts of things. The leveling gear right now requires you to have an Azerite level of 1, 4, and 7 for tiers 1 through 3. A max level blue will offer levels of 3, 6, and 9. A regular dungeon blue, 11, 14, and 17. A heroic dungeon epic will be 15, 18, and 21, and so on. This will just scale upwards as the expansion draws forward. So the way that this gear is going to be scaling with us and us constantly getting Azerite power is the fact that the higher the item level of the gear that you are getting, the higher level of Azerite power you will need to unlock the traits in it. So something else I've seen asked a lot is, does this armor replace tier set or legendaries from Legion? And the short answer is no. The traits here in the Azerite gear are a lot more muted and tuned down. Most of them offer about a 10% damage increase to 1 core class ability. Not total DPS output of 10%, but only 10% increase to 1 ability that you do have. The tier 2, which is the sustain and healing tier, offers about 1 to 2% healing or absorption per 5 to 10 seconds depending on class. So the amount of healing and sustain that this offers is not very big at all. The big issue with Azerite gear is that Azerite gear is in the 3 most heavily weighted slots of your character, and it offers no secondary stats. That means it offers no crit, haste, verse, or mastery, and it only offers primary, only giving you options of agility, intellect, strength, stamina, and armor. What this means is that secondary stat caps will be close to impossible to achieve without these 3 pieces having those secondary stats. This means that builds that are currently live in Legion that require a certain percentage of a stat, like having 30% haste, 40% mastery, 40% crit, anything like that, these builds will perform far below the expected range because of lack of secondary stats. Now, despite these drawbacks, are there any positives to this gear? And yes, this gear can actually never Titanforge or Warforge, so the drop locations are always known and static, so you can farm them appropriately. And the power invested to unlock the traits in these pieces is never going to be lost because it's not attached to the pieces themselves, rather to your Heart of Azeroth. Now, if we're going to offer any feedback to Blizzard for them to improve on this system, it's to offer gear with rolls on secondary stats. And they can even make the secondary stat rolls random as long as the drop location and item level is always static, cannot Warforge or Titanforge. That means that a player can farm 4 or 5 different pieces of this gear, different iterations with different secondary stats, in order to achieve their goals for their particular build. If this is supposed to be very strong and superior gear, then they should scale up the traits to offer more damage, more secondary stats. The traits themselves should offer a bigger impact on our gameplay. And if this is the issue with balancing this between PvE and PvP, they could mute these Azerite traits for PvP, since they don't offer unique abilities, but rather empower our existing abilities. So just don't empower our abilities in PvP, but offer those changes in PvE so that this gear still has more of an impact and feels more necessary for us to progress through this expansion. That does it for this guide, going over everything that we know about Azerite gear, the good, the bad, the ugly, what we should be changing on it. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below about Azerite gear. Do you guys like the change? Do you guys dislike it? What do you think Blizzard should do to improve Azerite gear before it goes live in 3 months? If you guys like what I do and want to help support the channel, go ahead and visit my Patreon down below. I also do stream here and on twitch.tv, so follow me on your favorite platform. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, good luck out there.